Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have a really special guest. This guy is going to blow your mind. He doesn't think so, but I know so. This dude is a freaking genius. He was one of, well, I'm not even going to get into it. We're going to let Rick talk about it. He has done some unbelievably amazing things in life. And he's a geek just like me. So stay with us. We will be right back with the one, the only Rick Raddatz. And we're back. Let me bring Rick on. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
Man, I am so thrilled to have you here. I mean, we've known each other now for, I don't know, a couple years, I think. Um, you're one of the most impressive people I've ever known intellectually.
Well,
You're
thank you.
you really are. It's amazing some of the stuff that you've done, that you're doing. It's just it's mind-boggling to me. So look, I want to start with this. This is about helping people watching, primarily a lot of entrepreneurs. But it's about helping people have a breakthrough, get unstuck. Have you
Uh-huh.
ever been stuck in life as an entrepreneur, Rick?
I've hit
Maybe.
walls. I've hit walls, but
Right. Right.
I don't allow myself to get stuck. I break through those walls. I'm
I
just
love it.
saying.
I mean, that's almost a great theme for this show.
Yeah.
So Rick, talk about, like, start with where you were born and raised. Where did it all begin for you?
Well, okay. I'm going to ignore your question and address
No, you can't ignore my questions.
I'm ignoring your question because you've already done something I hate, which is accuse me of being a genius. I am not a genius. Oh, no, and this is important for everyone watching because this is how you break through walls, according to me.
Okay, here we go.
Because I'm not a genius. But why does everyone say I'm a genius? Like, what am I doing? It's called a combination of humility and persistence. Those are the two key things because they lead to what? Constant improvement. Humility,
Yeah.
in an intellectual sense, means you're open to being wrong and you're seeking out a better answer. So someone else comes along with a better answer, you go, yes, thank you. Okay. You're not mad. You don't push back against it. You welcome it. So humility.
Yeah.
But then persistence. Like you never stop being humble and improving and so on. So
Yeah.
the combination of humility, intellectual humility, and not social humility, that's a different thing, but intellectual humility and persistence, that combination leads to
Yeah.
constant improvement. And if you're a genius, you might do this with your first try, but then you're going to do that for your second try because you're a genius. That's your answer. If
Yeah.
you adopt the principle of constant improvement through humility and persistence, you doesn't matter where you start. Does not matter where you start, but you trend above the genius. Aha. Okay.
I love it.
So it's persistence and humility leads to, in my opinion, at least for me, the breakthroughs. And
So just
yeah,
that answer alone actually solidifies my original statement.
no, because I'm 56 years old, and I didn't really understand that until I was about 54. So I mean, I was doing it, but I didn't understand. I couldn't explain it to you, and now I
Right.
can. So,
Right.
but that's another example of my answer, not your answer. I'm not a genius. I'm persistent and at least intellectually humble.
I love that. So,
Okay.
okay, back to my other
Okay.
question.
What was the other question? I forget.
Where were you born and raised? Where did it all begin for you?
I was born a poor black child. Uh, for the younger
That's
generation, that's an old Steve Martin joke. Okay,
from The Jerk.
from the movie The Jerk.
Yeah.
No, I was born in Texas, but I
Okay.
was dragged kicking and screaming out of Texas. I know I was kicking and screaming because I was 3 months old. Okay, so
Right.
I was dragged out of Texas and grew up in Wisconsin. Um,
Okay.
uh, then went to University of Wisconsin. Got degrees in computer science and philosophy, and then found my way into Microsoft.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were allowed to talk about that. So interesting stories that you have about you were one of the first two or three employees.
No.
Two
I was in the first 2,000 or so employees
2000. Okay.
at Microsoft, which is
Ish.
a big number. But when I left 12 years later, it was 170,000 employees or whatever the number is. I don't know.
So you did you do anything cool at Microsoft besides clock in and out? Did you hang out? Did you and Bill Gates play golf together?
Well, I had several meetings with Bill Gates.
Okay.
My first, well, as an intern, I was an intern 3 times at Microsoft. As an intern, you get invited to the intern parties at Bill's house.
Oh,
Once a summer, and you get to meet Bill there if you don't meet him any other way. And but the first the first time I probably got on Bill's radar, like Bill knows about me now. now, remember, I gotta set the stage here. I'm only an intern, okay? I don't know any better. I'm
right.
just an
Oh,
intern having
jeez.
fun at Microsoft.
Oh no.
And this is back in the days where email was very simple, plain text, nothing
Right.
special.
I
So
remember.
I sent myself an email, and then I forwarded my own email to all the other interns, but I changed the name of the original email to have it be from Bill Gates. So I forged an email from Bill Gates to me. But it was all as a joke. It was all for fun. And at the time,
Oh,
Microsoft was famous, at least internally, for everyone gets free soft drinks. That was kind of new and cool. I mean, like nowadays, employers give lots of perks
yeah.
for employees, but back in the
Yeah.
day, that was pretty cool. So
Yeah,
everyone gets
right.
free soft drinks. And but my forged email from Bill Gates to me said, uh, I also wrote a forged email to Bill that he was replying to, and so my email to Bill said, we have the free soft drinks, that's great, but that creates the need for like a snack of some kind. For me, I like Twinkies. What do you think, Bill? And then
Oh
Bill's
my
my
god.
forged reply from Bill to me was, Rick, that's actually a good idea. I've asked Julie, my assistant, to make it happen. And so, yes, there'll be free Twinkies at Microsoft. And the subject line was free Twinkies at Microsoft. So everyone has to open up the message that says free Twinkies at Microsoft.
Oh
And
my
then it
god.
went viral across the whole company, and I got in trouble. but
Was that
well,
that
well,
was
well,
one of your meetings with
well,
Bill?
well, 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 Julie, Bill's assistant,
Oh
gives me a
shit.
call. Julie G.
Oh my
And
god.
so she gives me a call and says, Rick, we know you're just having fun. You're an intern. Don't do this again.
Oh god.
So that was the first time I got on Bill's radar, I suspect.
So
Um,
did you ever get free Twinkies?
no,
No. Okay.
no. I actually, in the conversation with Julie, I turned around and said, but, now that we're talking, what do you think?
Yeah, right.
And she said, "Don't push it." So
Right,
I
right,
stopped,
right.
but she could tell I was just being funny.
Yeah.
But no, I did have several intentional, serious meetings with Bill. My first meeting with Bill, it was my first summer at Microsoft, and I was actually put in charge of a product. Now, how do you
Wow.
get as an intern? How do you get? Oops, my video went off.
No, I still see you. I
Okay,
see
okay,
you.
weird. Um, uh, so my first summer at Microsoft, I got put in charge of a product. Okay, I was
What
hired.
product?
I was hired as an intern product manager, or actually they call them program managers. But it turned out it was just pure luck and timing. The full-time hire that was supposed to be in charge of this product
Yeah.
was so insulted by being in charge of this tiny little product that he quit. Okay. And then I
Wow.
come in as an intern in the Microsoft languages team. And so I was put in charge of Macintosh Quick Basic. Okay.
What?
Now Basic is the least respected language of all programming languages.
It wasn't when it was the only programming language.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, 79 or so. But
Right.
but
Right.
it's the least respected. It's kind of the amateurs and kids use it, not
Right.
professional coders.
Right.
So anyway, so this guy was insulted and quit just as I got brought in as a summer intern, and the release schedule was to have it be launched by the end of September, by the end of summer. So it was
Yeah.
a perfect timing for it,
Yeah.
and they put me in charge of it. Just total luck. And
Wow.
the project, it was the least significant product at Microsoft, I'm pretty sure. And so they had an ad budget for one magazine ad in
Oh my
Macworld
God.
magazine. Okay, and they spent their budget, creating the creative and so on. And
Wow.
but the ad that they created featured 3 different apps you could build with Mac Quick Basic.
Right.
But then the legal department reviewed it, like they could do with all the advertising, and they said, "Wait a minute, these apps don't actually exist. You can't run the ad." And now we are a week or 2 weeks before Macworld, where we're launching Mac Quick Basic, and Bill's speaking. He's the keynote speaker at Macworld.
Oh my God.
So, and he's supposed to announce it from stage, and we can't have our ad in Macworld magazine. So the head of Microsoft Languages calls a meeting with all the different dev leads in Microsoft Languages and says, "We have this problem. We have to get these 3 apps coded, in a week." And every dev lead, all these full-time hires, is kind of like Jesus and the disciples going around the room. The head of languages went around the room, and every dev lead said, "Nope, it's not possible. It's not possible. It's not possible. It's not possible." And then
Oh.
I'm sitting in the corner. I'm not even invited to sit at the table because I'm just the intern, but I was invited to
Right.
the meeting. And so I raised my hand, and the guy calls on me, and I say, "I can do it."
Oh
The head of language was like, "What? You alone can do all 3 apps in a week?" I said, "Yes,
Oh
I
my
can do it.
God.
This is my specialty, basic programming. Not a problem." And he said, "Do it." So I worked 24 hours in a row and then slept 8 hours and got 1 app done. I
Oh
worked
my.
24 hours. One app was like a drawing program, like an early Photoshop. Another
Yeah.
one was a music construction program. You can drag and drop notes.
Yeah.
Another one was a slot machine simulation. Okay, and I figured the trick is you just have to have enough functionality to pass the screenshot test,
Right. Right.
and next. Okay, so I was
Right.
gonna, I'm not going to develop a Microsoft quality app. I'm just going to get it done and move on to
Right.
the next one. So I worked 24 hours, slept 8 hours, worked 24 hours, slept 8 hours, worked 24 hours, slept 8 hours, and within a week I got all 3 apps done. And then
Wow.
I saved the launch, and so that got me invited to the Mac World prep meeting with Bill Gates,
Wow.
and so that was my first meeting with Bill Gates, and then
So,
uh,
hold on. I want to talk
yeah,
about the logic of just getting it done good enough. So, you were also in charge of the XP release. I'm kidding.
no, my manager at the time, when I was an
Yeah.
intern, was Tom Button, and Tom Button famously ended up being the head of the VP of Microsoft in charge of Vista. So
Oh
so,
gosh.
so that's even
Wow.
more fun. Yeah,
Yeah. Holy crap,
I think
man.
he
They
retired.
they have had
I think he retired shortly after that.
they've had some really really bad releases. But so you got to meet with Bill. That was
Yeah,
your first meeting.
yeah.
And I'm curious because you had to be young. How old were you? And I love Joe Ingram says, "OMG, I want to make a studio like Rick's. So cool." And then he said, "Is he in the construct from the Matrix? Is Morpheus sitting to his right?"
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
uh,
But
uh,
so what was it like going you're young, you're going in to meet with, well, at the
yeah.
time he wasn't one of the wealthiest people in the world though. He couldn't have
No,
been. It
no,
was
no.
still early.
Microsoft was just a cool startup almost. I mean, it was
Wow.
well known in the
Yeah.
computer world, but not outside the computer world at the time. So
Wow.
everyone knew that used Microsoft DOS, disk operating system. That's
Yep.
before Windows, and everyone knew that you use Microsoft Basic to code things.
Yep.
And I think when I was an intern, Microsoft had just launched Excel 1.0,
Jeez.
which came with Windows. And the only reason anyone would install Windows 1.0 was because you wanted to use Excel.
Good
So
Lord
that
have
so
mercy.
it was the early days of Microsoft,
Wow.
and people mainly use Windows to multitask DOS text sessions. So you have
Yeah.
different text windows open.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was the very early days of Microsoft, but it was a great time to be there because it is early,
Yeah.
and you're learning, but so is the industry. So you kind of grow
Yeah.
up together.
So and in 12 years um in computer years is like 600. So like I mean, it's a long time.
Yeah,
Things
yeah,
change fast, and
yeah,
especially back then. I mean, there were so many iterations of just
yeah.
everything. That's one of the reasons I'm a Mac guy today, is because I absolutely abhor the freaking Microsoft updates that are nonstop. It's like
Okay,
nonstop,
yeah, yeah.
and so I just I can't. Anyway, so look, I purchased audio post. Oh
Oh,
wow, look at that, Chris
Christopher Voss.
Voss.
I remember that name. Hi, Christopher.
Chris is a buddy of mine, good dude. Joe loves Excel. So he said I'm a freak in the sheets. Oh my god. Whatever. So talk about that. How many, like, you here you are, you're developing this product, you're helping with this launch, you're in charge of it as an intern. Where did things kind of go? How fast did things move for you at Microsoft? And did you ever become a VP
No, no, no.
or
Um, Microsoft had a kind of a benefit. I'll phrase it as a benefit to employees, where as an employee, you were allowed to switch teams as often as you wanted to, as long
wow.
as you finished your product cycle.
Wow.
There's no jumping ship in the middle of a product cycle. But after the product's done, you want to move to another team. That's what really excites you. They wanted you wherever you were most excited.
Yeah.
And so some of my friends and my manager Tom Button especially, did the move up career path. But I had no interest in that. I wanted to do things,
Wow.
and I wanted to do different things.
Yeah.
And my core strength was in product design, and project management. So what I would do is I would do one product cycle with the group as a program manager, they called it, which is like a
Okay.
mini CEO. And then I'd do one product cycle in the same team, but in a different role as a developer or as a marketer or whatever. And then I'd jump to another team as a program manager again, because that was my strongest skill. And
Okay.
then do something else for them the next product. So I kept doing these double product cycle. That just ended up being the pattern. I just kept moving when I was interested, and 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 that's what worked for me with my personality. I didn't want to be the manager. I didn't want to be the VP. That just felt boring, and that felt like a job. Whereas being on the front lines, I was still a manager in a sense. I was managing the project. I had no
Yeah.
direct reports. I didn't manage employees. I managed the project. But so I was almost always in that role. But I didn't. They promoted me to like a manager of program managers one time, and I hated it, and I went back down.
Wow.
So I kind of bounced around the lowest levels of Microsoft.
So you what you're saying, you got in there and you were like, okay, we got to figure out this coding issue, and you would get in there and do that kind of stuff, like you're doing the actual coding
well,
stuff.
well, my first internship, I was a program manager intern. I wasn't supposed to be
Okay.
doing coding, but then in that emergency situation, I stepped in and saved
Wow.
the day.
Wow.
And then like 7 years later at Microsoft, I was in charge of something called Microsoft Virtual Worlds. It could have become Minecraft.
Oh, wow.
It didn't, obviously. It became this kind of visual chat. There was launched as visual chat, where you could pick an avatar and float around in a 3D space and then chat.
Wow.
And I had proposed in Spec kind of a programming interface where you could create objects and program them within your world, and then people could enter your world and then interact with these objects that you make and make it cool things. And then other programmers could have their own worlds, and then if you wanted to, you can share objects across worlds, share the code. It would be all
Wow.
interpreted code, so it could all just be shared. And so I had this idea of this dynamic, kind of geeky, techie, connected world space. But the group was killed before they had a chance to do that type of thing.
Wow.
But that was in like '96,
Wow.
so it's still pretty early. But yeah. So I bounced around the lower levels of Microsoft, and finally in 2000, well, actually, I made my decision in '99, and I left January 1st of 2000 without any plan. I just knew that I was done with the kind of the big. Well, it had become a big corporation, and that
Yeah.
just wasn't my thing.
Right.
And it wasn't fun anymore. So I just followed the fun kind of my whole career at Microsoft, and then it wasn't fun anymore, and I left.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, that one particular day, at least, you saved Bill Gates's ass, and I think he owes you some stock options.
Well, I got stock options, and my
Oh, did you?
ex-wife was very happy with them.
Oh my God.
Well, no, it's more of a personal note. But after I left Microsoft, I mean, I was married and stuff, but I was in the
Yeah.
wrong marriage. I was just in the wrong marriage. Nothing
Yeah.
against her. It was
It
the wrong
happens.
combination. And
Yeah.
I just had this feeling I could do it over again. So I gave her all the money, all the stock, and I just started life over again.
Well, and talk about that, because that's funny that you left literally on the day that the entire world was supposed to collapse with Y2K.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I remember that. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
everybody shut your computer off at 11:55. Don't let it happen.
I know. Well, nobody knew, and
Right.
of course, like nothing happened. But there was fear that
No.
elevators would stop working and crash to the ground, and
Right.
because everything's computerized but not programmed to honor the dates.
It's crazy.
And none of that happened. Although I
Right.
did switch the power breakers of my house, even though I was in mountain time. I'm always the practical joker, I guess. I turn off the power breakers of the house, and when it was at 10 o'clock mountain time, because we were all watching the Eastern time ball drop.
Right.
And it freaked my brother-in-law up the wazoo because he was so nervous about the whole thing. But yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. So where did things go for you from there? I understand, you eventually became an entrepreneur. Is that when it started for you?
No. My father was an entrepreneur, and so and he had a company that was just begging for an internet strategy because
Okay.
he wanted to raise a couple $1 million to grow the company.
Got it.
And it was clearly the time of the internet by now, 2000. This is before the .com crash or bust.
Yeah.
So everyone's dreaming about what the internet could be, and so if you want to raise money, you have an internet strategy. My dad didn't have one, so I joined my dad's company as an employee, and and gave him an internet strategy and helped him raise $2.2 million in angel funding.
Wow.
And so that not that I was the primary contributor to that, but I helped out with that with the internet strategy. And
wow.
And then a couple of years later, I'm remarried by this time. My wife and I are going for a walk, and she just out of the blue says, "Why don't you start a business?" So like it didn't even come from me.
Wow.
My wife said, "Why don't you start a business?" And I thought about it, and I thought I should start a business. But can now I have a blank slate? What business do you start?
Yeah.
Well, I was divorced and remarried by this point, but when you have kids with your ex-wife, you're still in a relationship with your ex-wife. So
right.
And very commonly communication is part of the problem.
Yes.
And especially post-divorce, where there aren't
yes.
the various incentives to kind of make it work out.
Yeah, I've heard rumors. I'm kidding. I know what you're talking about.
Okay. So I thought what the world needs is a divorce communication service. Now that's oddly specific, but I was living it, and I saw the need, and lots of people get divorced, and so maybe they have to maintain communication over the years with their kids.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea of a unified inbox where voicemails and emails were all come into one place, and I had special features that you wouldn't think of normally, but in this one niche, they make sense. Like spell checkers were already a thing by that point. This is like 2002. But I added a psychology checker. It would check. It would check for those common phrases post divorce, like "you money grubbing bitch." Okay, no, I'm being funny, but it would try to pick out with keywords.
Oh my god!
It would try to pick out when you were going too far in your messages. Okay, at least with your emails, right?
Right.
And when you called and left, and instead of calling your ex and having a live conversation that can spiral out of control, the system offered both of you a common voicemail box where you leave the message and then you both have access to the message.
Right.
Okay. And both email and the voicemail had a 30-minute. Well, you could choose the setting, but by default it had a 30-minute cooling down period. So the voicemail would not be sent for 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So you could leave your stupid voicemail and regret it and then go back in and
delete
it because it's never been sent. Okay.
Wow.
You get it. So these are actually pretty useful features.
Yeah,
so now with my father being an entrepreneur, I was aware of people like Dan Kennedy, who is a famous, copywriter, a coach and mentor and so on. And so I subscribed to Dan Kennedy's silver level, like $120 a year, $100 a year, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that got me 2 marketing critiques. And this is back in the day where you would email him. You had to. I don't know if you had to fax in your request. I think you could email in your request, but you had to have a fax machine because he would only give you a response via fax.
Okay.
He did that, I think, to limit the number of people who made the request.
Right. Yeah.
But so I sent in my sales letter that I wrote for this. It was called X-Talk, EXTALK.com. The best way to talk to your ex.
Wow.
So I sent him my sales letter, and he sent back a little paragraph 2 months later. And the paragraph was life-changing. Okay, so
really,
kudos to Dan Kennedy. So Dan Kennedy correctly. Well, okay, there's kind of a twist in his message. Here's what his message was. His message was, Rick, I think you have a great sales letter. Now, that's what I was worried about. So I'm thinking, woo, Dan Kennedy says I have a great sales letter. My first sales letter ever. Yeah, baby. We're going places.
That's hilarious.
And then came his next sentence. But I don't think you have a business.
Oh, God, no, Dan.
Well, and then he clarified. he said, I think your product is very innovative and perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with the product, except the people you're selling to are consumers. They're not going to want to pay a lot of money. And at the time he was getting divorced. So he says, look, I'm your target market. And like, I might need your service right now, but I don't think I'm going to need your service for very long. We're going to get better. And how are you going to find these people who aren't going to pay you much money for not very long? Affiliates would be the normal way for a startup to enter this kind of market, but who's going to be your affiliate? Who knows who's being divorced or getting divorced? Psychologists and lawyers, both of which may have real or perceived concerns or fears about promoting any product for a profit, and so they probably just won't even do it.
Right.
And they're not normally affiliates anyway. It's not their thing.
Right.
So innovative idea, Rick, but I don't think you have a business.
Ouch.
Well, ouch, but in an honest, insightful, good way. And so then I had to make a choice. The classic entrepreneurial choice. Do you follow the wisdom of your mentor, your chosen mentor? I chose him as my mentor because I respected him.
Yeah.
Do you follow the advice of your mentor? Or do you go for it because you're an entrepreneur and nothing will stop you?
Yeah.
I chose to listen to my mentor. And
Good for you.
And the business was ready to launch, in part because it took two months to get the response back from Dan Kennedy. So by that time I was ready to launch.
Yeah.
Like I was a week or two away from launch, and I didn't. And then I thought, well, what am I actually going to do for a business? Now, because I was on Dan Kennedy's list now, I got an email from one of his other affiliates or partners.
Yeah.
Promoting.
But can I interrupt you real quick? Yeah. How long did it take you to develop all of that, the bells and whistles, everything? How long did this take you from the point of I'm starting this to the point of Dan Kennedy deflating your entire world?
Yeah. Well, remember, in this context, I have no money because I've given it all to my ex-wife, and I'm an employee of my dad, but I'm an employee, so I'm working full time for him.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm moonlighting to develop this myself because I can't hire anyone to do it.
Right.
And so it took in moonlight, so working like 3-4 hours a day, it took me about 6 months. I'm guessing.
I wanted you to say that because I think that it's important people know that, sometimes a setback, I hate saying the word failure, but a setback like that is a long time in the making.
Yeah.
And you just have to shift gears and move on.
In economics, it's called the sunk cost fallacy. You've sunk all this money into this project, and time and value and energy, effort, the whole thing. And so there's a psychological desire to keep going.
Yes.
Because you've invested so much. But the question is, every moment in time, the question is, now what's the best thing for me to do? And I came to the conclusion that now the best thing for me to do is to pivot.
Because of the law of diminishing returns.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Why put more money into the wrong thing, or more time, I should say, into the wrong thing?
Right.
So, so now I'm in limbo. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
But I was on Dan Kennedy's email list, and so one of his partners, I forget his name, was promoting a seminar, a business, marketing seminar.
Yeah.
And it was called the System Seminar 3, I think it was, the System Seminar, and the email said, "The future of the internet." That was the subject line, the future of the internet. And the copy said, "The future of the internet is voice testimonials." And and then he gave the reason why. The reason why is because you can do voice on the web now with this technology. It's a little techy, but you can do it. And voice you couldn't do video really then, but you could do. This is 2002.
What year was this?
This is like August 2002.
Okay.
And he said, look, you can't do video yet, but you can do voice.
Yeah.
And voice testimonials are clearly real. I mean, you can tell if that's a fake testimonial or if that's a real testimonial.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with a written testimonial, you have no idea. But what's the purpose of a testimonial? To give you credibility and so on. And so the future of sales on the internet is voice testimonials. Now that's a credible argument.
Right.
Okay?
Sure.
But remember, this is 2002. How do you do a voice testimonial? Like technically, like how do you even get the recording? How do you get the recording on the computer, on the internet?
Yeah.
And then there's a player. And so I actually emailed the marketer, whatever his name was, and said, sounds great. How do you get the voice testimonials? Now, that just shows how boneheaded I was. He wasn't talking about voice testimonials. If you read deeper into the copy, he said, for example, click on this link and see my sales letter for the System Seminar 3. Ignore all the marketing copy, he said. Just focus on the voice testimonials. Now, what's he doing? He's being a smart copywriter, telling me to ignore the sales letter. Just watch the testimonials, which are pitching how great System Seminar 2 was. Okay.
Right.
He wants me to come to System Seminar 3. Voice testimonials was just a ploy that he made up because he had a few. And so it wasn't the future of the internet as he thought. And he wasn't going to take his time to help me figure out how to do a voice testimonial.
Wow.
So that email went nowhere. But then I thought to myself, how do I get a voice testimonial? And I thought, wait a minute. I've already built a voicemail system.
Oh, yeah.
I already know how to get a recording of a voice onto my web servers.
Yeah.
I already know how to play it on the web because I was letting him play it on my own, universal inbox. So I took this is total serendipity here.
Wow.
But I already had all the technology.
Yeah.
To pivot very quickly.
Yes.
And so that was actually probably September, October 2002. And so by April, I was ready to launch what became known as instantaudio.com. And
is that what Chris was talking about? The audio postcards?
Yeah. I ended up private labeling it with some partners, Alex Mendoza and Armin Morin, and that was known as audiogenerator.com. Same product.
Wow.
In fact, you could log into either one. But yeah, that was part of that product. That was part of that product.
Wow.
So eventually it wasn't there at first. But anyway, I launched the at first, and this speaks to the earlier point about constant improvement. At first, I was thinking about an instant testimonial service.
Yeah.
But then I thought, I want it for my own marketing. I want to have my voice on my website.
Right.
And so so I kept the toll free. I think I called it tollfreetestimonials.com or something like that, because I gave everyone there's a toll free line, and then everyone got a PIN number. And then your customers leave a message, and then you can put it out on the web. So, I mean, this was pretty cool technology in 2002. In 2003 is when we launched.
Yeah.
And other people were coming out with services to help marketers put audio on the website, like Sound Nails and BYO Audio and so on. But these were all services that you paid like a one-time fee for each audio you converted.
Yeah.
And I had a different model. I had a model where you pay $30 a month and you can use it as much as you want to.
Right.
And that's more lucrative for me, and it's easier to say yes to for them. And and there's enough money to power affiliates. And so when Armin and Alex private labeled with me, then I got to see a pair of professional marketers who already had affiliate relationships do their thing. I got to see them redo my business and do it right in terms of the marketing.
Wow.
And so, you can't pay for that.
No,
you can't pay for that. I mean, if you did pay for it, it'd be way too expensive. So I got to see behind the scenes them, because I'm just a junior marketer. I mean, I'm a good technologist, but I'm a junior marketer.
Right.
So I got to see them overhaul my own marketing and do it much better, and start building affiliate relationships. And they, I had like 300 customers on Instant Teleseminar a year later. They had 3,000 on Audio Generator.
Jeez.
Not now because of the profit sharing, I was making as much money on instant audio,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
or approximately, but still, I doubled my income and tripled my revenues and doubled my income by partnering with them.
Wow.
Um, so it was a great partnership, at least for the 10 years or so that it lasted before the technology all changed.
I built I think I told you this before. I built my first website in 1994 using an HTML editor called Hot Dog.
I
And
remember
then
Hot Dog. I do. I
that's
do.
crazy. And then, front page came along
Yeah. Yeah.
and all that. But I actually, in 2002 is when I started doing web development professionally for
Okay.
clients. I had and there was not to my knowledge, Rick, there wasn't another website in all of central Ohio at least that had any video on their website. And I had this realtor that was, long story, she couldn't sell a house and she needed a video walkthrough of the house.
Yeah.
I said I can do it, and I took a DV8 camcorder. Remember those little
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
DV8, and I did a walkthrough and converted it to a flash video, put it
Yep.
on her website. She sold it in 2 weeks, man. And
Wow.
so I that's before YouTube. YouTube came out
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
'04, I think, right? So
No, no, no.
I
YouTube was actually 2005, I believe.
oh, was it '05?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I had the instant audio product, and then I came
Yeah.
out with instantvideogenerator.com in
Wow.
December 31st, 2003. I remember that date because I wanted to sneak it into 2003.
Oh,
We
wow.
launched that in 2003, and then I doubled my revenues again and profits again,
Wow.
and
That's
then
insane.
came out with an early version of like ClickFunnels, or lead pages. It was called Marketing Makeover Generator. You fill in the
Okay.
blanks and you get a sales funnel.
Wow.
And so that was 2006. And then I came out with Instant Teleseminar. This is before webinars, so we
Right.
didn't have the name webinar yet. So I came
Yeah.
up with Instant Teleseminar, because
Okay.
Alex Mendoza was calling his conference calls teleseminars, and
Wow.
um, and that product's still going today. I still have like 500 customers on Instant Teleseminar today.
Do you
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah,
Wow. And people that I've talked to that know who you are, they know you for instant teleseminars.
yeah. That ended up becoming the biggest product of them all, and
Yeah.
it was one that I owned fully. Well, I had a partnership on the dev side, but in terms of the marketing and stuff, I was in control of that. So normally I was the dev partner, and then for that product, I switched and became the marketing partner.
Wow.
And then I eventually bought out my partners and took it over completely. And then I used the cash flow from that to create Meetin,
Yeah.
which is my new video meeting service to take a 9 iron to the shins of Zoom.
So, that yeah, that we got into that quickly, but yes, I think one of the and so I met you through our mutual friend Scott Schilling,
Uh-huh.
and he told me about Meetin, and I was like, "What's Meetin?" And he's like, it's gonna hurt Zoom," and I said, "Okay." And so I've been using Meetin now, and for anybody, I can I just throw it out there? Can I talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah, sure.
little thing that you've done for me and anybody that follows me? So if you are and listen, you can go to I gotta I want to be careful. I don't want to Meetin doesn't take your data like other companies and sell it for AI training purposes across the globe. There are companies doing that. I won't say which ones, but they're fairly large companies. I'm that's something that you're not doing, and
Yeah, yeah.
I love that
Yeah,
about.
what one? There are three reasons why Meetin is the better service. One is the simplicity and ease of use. That's my specialty in designing
Yeah.
software. The second is we have some powerful features the competitors don't have, especially in terms of preloading content. So you can click and the video plays. You can click in the so it's kind of like StreamYard does it, but other meeting services don't. And so I'm bringing that to the video meeting services. And then the third reason is what you're mentioning right now is the company values. We believe in free speech and we believe in privacy. And so we're not going to sell your private data because we're not going to collect your private data.
Right.
And we're not going to play games with that. Like Zoom might live up to their terms of service, but how craftily worded is their terms of service, and how much are they trying to get away with by knowing that you probably aren't reading your terms of service? And like, they're
getting away with a lot of stuff because people don't read that.
Yeah.
They're getting away with a lot.
Yes. So we're and my investors are on board with this. I have investors now.
Yeah.
Because we want to scale this puppy big. We have consciously chosen for that not to ever be a part of our business model.
Yeah. I think that's a really good decision. So, it does come down to, there's a lot of things that, for me, when I don't even use Zoom anymore at all. It's gone from my computer. I deleted it. I use Meetin, and I have people that, and I still use StreamYard, and Rick is the CEO of Meetin. He's working. I mean, you can stream to multiple platforms from Meetin as well. But he's working on tweaking a couple of things that for the streaming side of it. But as far as meeting with people, and you need to present a presentation, you need to show them a video, you need to have organized folders with your material in there. You want to do it does things like, honestly, it does this website popper thing where people that are on your Meetin can actually scroll the website themselves, and you could pop up an order form and they can fill it out right there on the screen in the middle of your meeting. It's phenomenal. And you've thought about like all of the things, man, like everything. And you put together a special promo for me. And if people go to getmeetin.com, that's my website. And I'm using stuff with Rick's permission on there. He put together one heck of a promotion. It's $49 a month normally for the big Mac Daddy of all packages, and I think it's $19.95 or something like that on is that right?
Well,
for the webinar.
That is right, and we'll honor that for, let's say, a month.
Okay.
But that has to change because that was a like the artist put that in there and I forgot to change it, and then it's okay. Published, and so we're going to honor the publisher. So basically, that's a mistake that we're going to honor.
Okay. Whoops. So, all right, it's $49.95. I'm changing it today. No. Whoops.
Well, and an old Dan Kennedy marketing trick is like when the boss is on vacation, you prepare a copy for your secretary. They called them secretaries back in the day, assistant.
Your
assistant to send out saying the boss is gone. We're going to have a sale.
Right.
So this honest mistake kind of falls into that category. It's like, oops, we made a mistake, but we're going to honor it. But it's not a marketing ploy, because I'm not a genius. But for right now, that is the pricing for that. Yes.
I love, so tell me about, and I cannot believe we've already been on here 48 minutes, but tell me about, why you decided to start Meetin. What was, did you wake up one day and go, Zoom has become this $12 billion behemoth, and I think I want to just take them on?
No, well, my thing is being ahead of my time, and I wasn't this time, right? So what happened? Well, in 2013, I wrote the spec for Meetin.
Oh my God!
2013. Okay, 11 years ago. But remember I said I had partners in the instant telephone business.
Yeah.
They were making they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so they were happy and fat, in a financial sense. And so there was we were too successful. They were no longer hungry enough to take on the challenge of video in 2013. Video on the web today is much easier. Back then, not so much.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they didn't want to take on that challenge, and they said, "No, Rick, we're making too much money with the audio. We need to do all this extra work for video." And I'm like, "The future is video. We need to do video," and they're like, "Nah." And
Wow.
and uh, and I'm like, "But our sales are going to turn around, and we're going to wish we had started video now, not later." And they said, "Nah." So 2 years later, 2015, instant teleseminars revenue is flattening now. It had always
Right.
grown. It had always grown every month on its own with
Right.
no marketing because it's
Right.
inherently viral. And now it's flat. And I'm like, guys, the trend line has changed. And the next change is down. So we have to do video. And they said,
Yeah.
no. They said, it's just a temporary blip.
Oh,
We're still making all this money. People love the service. We have raving fans. And they said, no. And by 2017, now there's a clear downtrend with instant teleseminar revenue. And I'm like,
wow.
guys, what I predicted came to pass. The trend has now clearly changed. And they said no. And
Oh
so
my.
I said, well, at this point, especially with the trend down, like I didn't have my portion, and I had built up quite a nice life.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to like take my kids out of private school and
Yeah.
all that kind of sell the $2 million house and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I decided I had to buy them out and take control of the full cash flow. And so if you get an SBA loan, you have 10 years to pay that off, but you get all the cash flow instantly.
Right.
And so we negotiated a price. I took out the SBA loan, paid them off. So now they're whole and happy and out.
Yeah.
I have
Yep.
full control of the cash flow of the business. I use that cash flow. And the reason I chose video meetings is because of how awesome a business the Instant Teleseminar was. I mean,
Yeah.
it's inherently viral. To use
Yep.
the service, you have to promote the service to your best people.
Yep. Yeah.
you know,
Right. Right.
yeah, I mean, unavoidably. So, so it's just a lovely business,
Yep.
and so I decided that's the right business to be in. And at the time, Zoom had not yet had its coronavirus ascendancy. So I'm telling people, hey, it's the right decision because no one owns this market yet. There's still time. I'm not too late.
Right.
Well, it takes a while to develop something like this from scratch. And we had
Yeah.
a couple false starts where we picked the wrong technology. We had to switch. So
Yep.
there's the sunk cost fallacy again. So we made the hard decision twice to restart the project, delaying it by years. But you
Wow.
got to do it right.
Yeah.
And and then the pandemic hits, and Zoom goes nuts because they were in the right position.
Yeah.
Good for them. But so I was worried for a little while, but here's what I learned since. What I learned is everyone felt forced into Zoom, and even if they're okay with Zoom, there's no love there.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
it's like they're content with it, but it's kind of a milk toast, whatever, it works kind of a thing.
Right.
But so that means, and Zoom even now today only has 55% of the marketplace. Okay,
What
it's still a fractured market.
I gotta say this, and this is a very, very important point. I had an issue with Zoom at one point. I forget what it was, but I'm like, I need to talk to somebody about this at Zoom. And so I start looking for the Zoom phone number. I couldn't find one. I found some kind of an email or something. And it said to speak to someone, you have to be at a much higher level, like a couple $100 a month or something.
Yep.
I think at the
Yep.
time, to even like get customer service. Basically, you can use email, but that's it. And
Yep.
I was like, what? Like what? That's insane. How do you operate a business and not provide customer service? And so, I this was a few years ago that happened, and I'll never forget feeling like I'm done with these people. I'm done with this company, and it's just unfortunate until now nothing else really. I mean, there's Google Me, but that's not that good, and it definitely doesn't have what you have. And so Meetin has all of these amazing bells and whistles that you can use when you're meeting with somebody. It's phenomenal. So I love what you're doing, man. I love and you're very, very well funded. I think that's
Yep.
important to
Yeah. We
point
just
out.
had a second round of funding. So we got millions of dollars in the bank
Yeah.
to accelerate our growth. Yep.
Yeah. So, um, let me ask you this, getting back to the theme of the show. Um, what do you think the number one thing is that, because you've made obviously millions of dollars over the years? I mean, what do you think stops people from really making it in life? I mean, I'm not talking about just the money and the houses and cars and all of that, but I'm talking about the money and the houses and cars and real joy and happiness and freedom. What do you think stops people?
Well, I it's close to what is known as the law of attraction.
Okay.
And if you're not familiar with the law, if you've seen the movie The Secret, the law of attraction says like you will attract whatever your mind is focused on. And so have a positive attitude. Doesn't matter what your current situation is, have a positive attitude and go through it. So basically have optimism. And I'm going to argue it's not the mechanics of the law of attraction. No. There's a rational justification for optimism. Like especially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go for it and you fail, and you go for it and you fail, and you go for it and you fail, and you go for it and you fail. I've just described the story of Walt Disney
Yep.
before he gets a hit. Okay. It does not matter how many times you fail as an entrepreneur. What matters is, do you keep trying? Because you only need one success and then you're off. You're off to the races. So I
Right.
think part of it is you have, and it's a rational. There's a rational justification for having this optimism, where the bad things that can happen to you can predict because they are related to what you already know about and are doing.
Yep.
But the good things that can happen to you are infinite, because like all the bad things that can happen to you because they're related directly to what you're doing.
Right.
The good things that can happen to you are infinite because you haven't made that connection to them yet.
Correct.
And so you meet a new person and then you have a new connection and then that changes everything.
Yeah.
And so there's an infinite number of good things and bad things that can happen, but the only relevant bad things you already know about and can plan for. All of the good things are relevant, and it tips it all entirely in the favor of go for it. So you want to have a go for it attitude. And Dan Kennedy talks about this in his writings, where you need to take action. You need to go for it. And you combine that with the idea that you can fail, and one success and you're good. You combine those two forces because they're separate forces, and it's like a slam dunk. Just keep going for it. Now, different people are going to have different skill sets. Like I'm a technologist and that's my thing. So this business makes sense for me. But anybody could start a landscaping business. I'm not kidding. Okay. And if you got to start by mowing the lawns yourself, okay. It's a job. Sure, it's a job that a teenager can do, but can a teenager grow it into a business where you then employ other people?
Right.
And then and you create a passive income stream for yourself because you create the systems you need so that someone's always answering the phone. If you launch a landscaping business and all you do is answer the phone, you have just outpaced all of your competitors. because all of
Yep.
your competitors are amateurs who aren't thinking like a business owner, and
Yep.
they figure, oh, they'll leave a voicemail, I'll get back to them. No, you
Right.
answer the phone because otherwise that person's going to call someone else who does answer the phone. So you
Yep.
answer the phone, and you say yes to the sale, and you grow your business. You
Yep.
read the E Myth by what's his name, Michael E. Gerber,
Yep.
that tells you how to make that transition.
Yep.
And you, like, a neighbor of mine made millions owning self-service car washes, and then he put those millions into Tesla early and Bitcoin early, and
Oh, wow.
he's off.
Wow.
But it all started with car washes.
Yep.
Okay, so you don't have to be a real or perceived genius. You just
Right.
have
Right.
to live within your limits. In terms of lifestyle,
Right.
like
Right.
live cheap
Right.
to free up your time and cash flow
Yep.
to try, and then get past, because it's that first success that you need. And vast majority of people don't get there. So to answer your
Right.
question, I think that's the key.
I love that answer, man. I love it. So, and we are at a little over an hour, but I want to ask real fast.
Sure.
Um, and so you and I were talking the other day on a meeting, and it came up well, I brought it up. I said, all of these problems in the world, and all the division, and the left versus right, and Democrats versus Republicans, and vice versa, and all the hatred and vitriol, and all the stuff that's going on. I wish somebody had a solution for it. And you said, I do. I
Yeah,
said, come on. He said, I do. I literally do.
I do.
Okay. I look, man, you have a platform right now. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of people watching live, but there will be a lot of live, or a lot of replays.
Okay.
But would you mind quickly just explain? I'm going to give you full screen, but
Okay.
explain the solution so people can, like you're talking to a fifth grader. Explain
Okay.
it so people can understand it.
Well, fifth grader is too sophisticated. Let's aim for preschooler.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the solution to our political divide, the solution to politics in general, how to build the best possible world given all the realities of the world. It took me 18 years to figure out just how simple it is, but it's as simple as the story of Goldilocks. When we govern, we don't want to govern too much. That would be a dictatorship, a tyranny, oppression. That's bad. But we also don't want to govern too little. That's letting people who would cause harm run amok, causing harm. That's anarchy in a bad way. That's terrifying. So we don't want to govern too much. We don't want to govern too little. We want to govern just right. What is that? Well, we know how to box it in. If we don't want to govern too little, we have to at least minimize harm. If we don't want to become a dictator, we have to not do more than that. So minimizing harm must be the ideal. But wait, that's a centuries old idea. That can't be the solution. It's already baked in.
Right.
Centuries ago, freedom lovers who loved this minimize harm idea for government, they tried it, but they only applied their idea to the governing of 3 types of human action. And that's a mistake, because there are 5 types of human action. That's our fundamental mistake as humans. There are 5 types of action to govern: private action, public action, political action, foreign action, and governing action. And we're governing 3 of them that way. We're not governing the other 2 that way. And so we end up with a big mess. The solution is to take the Goldilocks principle, not too much, not too little, just right, minimize harm, and apply it to all 5 types of action, all 5 types of harm. That gives us 5 types of freedom from harm. 5 types of freedom. Even libertarians don't know there are 5 types of freedom. And 5 ways we can act with our freedom, which really means 5 different negotiations that trend ever up. We end up with 5 economies. So the solution to all of the world's problems is a future children's book I'm going to write called Goldilocks and the 5 Economies.
Wow. So what are the two that we're missing? What are they specifically?
Well, we are more or less correctly governing private action, political action, and foreign action. And
Okay.
that makes sense that we pick those three because those are the three most obvious threats.
Right.
Private actors can run amok, looting and so on. The public or the political actors can run amok, becoming dictators.
Yeah.
Foreign powers can run amok, invading you. So those are
Right.
the three threats we have correctly minimized harm in.
Right.
We have not minimized harm when it comes to public spending. How do you minimize the harm of the waste of a public budget? You prioritize the budget. We are arguing about priorities. We aren't actually prioritizing. We're not ranking things from top to bottom. If we did, we'd create a competition of ideas, and that competition would force the worst ideas off. We're not doing that right now. Oregon does it with Medicaid, so it can be done, but we're not doing it at the federal level here in the US.
Mm.
And if we don't understand that way of governing, how can we possibly educate people as to the correct answer to everything? We can't. And so, with improper education, we can't do governing right either. We can't minimize the harm of governing. You minimize the harm of governing by education preventing governing too much or too little. Right now, we're governing too much in many ways and governing too little in some ways.
Right.
So, if we educate the people about the Goldilocks principle times 5, we're done. Everything else will take care of itself. Let me phrase it one last way. If we come together on these fundamentals, that's healthy. And even if we disagree on everything else, abortion, border security, and so on, that's political freedom. That's healthy too. This is how we can have a completely healthy political divide. Having a completely healthy divide is not about agreeing on everything. It's about agreeing on the fundamentals.
Wow.
Surprise.
There you go. I mean, that's it. And you came up with this.
Yep. The breakthrough happened in 2.5 years. The big breakthrough happened in 5 years. Spent 7 years working with hundreds of PhDs to refine it. Spent another 6 years simplifying it. And finally, it's as simple as the story of Goldilocks.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I disappeared from the business community. For those of you watching who know me from the old days, where did Rick go? I gave myself the mission in 2006 of solving our political divide.
Wow.
and that took a while, and now I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you went to Mecca.
Yeah. I mean, when I began the journey, I had no idea if I would succeed or not, but I used the humility plus persistence process, kept learning, and eventually made some breakthroughs and realized them and kept going.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing. Yeah. Rick Raddatz, you're a gentleman and a scholar.
Thank you. I'll take that. I'll take that.
I and a genius. And I appreciate and I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate what you're doing with Meetin, and I'm very grateful to be a part of it. Using the product itself and being a part of the affiliate program, which is phenomenal. So I highly recommend you go to getmeetin.com. You can get Meetin for free. There is a free plan on there that's really, really cool. It's way better than any other free plan you're going to see. There's also one that's $9.95 a month, and that's a phenomenal. That's the pro level. And then there's one that's a mistake, but it's $19.95 a month, and that is the webinar level where you can have up to 1,000 attendees, and it does more stuff on Meetin does more things than you can't even imagine. It's amazing. So go check it all out. Rick, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we go today?
No, just grab that $19.95 price, because that is a sincere mistake, and it's going to be changed.
Yeah, you might want to grab that. He's literally, you can tell he's working on changing it right now. So go grab that. I appreciate you, Rick. Thank you for coming on today, and stay with me. I'm going to end the live stream, but please stay on with me.
All right.
Everybody have an awesome day. And if you shared this out, thank you so much. If you have not shared this, there is time still to redeem yourself, and you can share it right now. So share this message out. It's brilliant. Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate you.
All right.
We'll
Thank
see
you,
you
Ken.
guys later. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right.